I'm Lee Spencer with the Racing Boys, and I'm here with Leilani Münter, and I can't believe that tomorrow is going to be your last ARCA race, or I should say your last scheduled ARCA race. I mean, crazy stuff happens, but it's kind of nice to be going out on top. You have a podium start for the beginning of the race. We'll see where you end up, but great equipment, great people, and, great effort for qualifying.
Yeah, I mean, I have such a great team with Venturini Motorsports, and I've got Frank Kimmel as my crew chief. He's, 10-time ARCA champion, a legend. So I just have I have every perfect situation that I could imagine in my head that I would want for my last race, and I'm living it, and it's, it feels surreal.
What have you learned all the times you've come to this track? I mean, last year you had a great starting spot, too. I mean, you seem to really have it together when it comes to qualifying. What are the keys to actually finishing this race? Because you're mature, you have the experience, you're racing with a bunch of teenagers. In addition, I mean, it's a wide range of ages and experience, but how do you just really, do what you need to do out there to keep yourself safe and come home with a decent finish?
Yeah, you've got to be patient here. So I think one of the mistakes that maybe people make is they really start racing hard right away, and you do not need to do that here. Things change so quickly on these super speedways. So you really have to be, patient, and I think make smart decisions. If there's any question that something is an iffy situation, stay out of it. Those are the kinds of things that you do in the last 10 laps when you're going to win it. But to just not take any risks. And, hopefully since I'm starting, third, I'm hopefully going to have the carnage happening behind me, which usually it starts like in the middle of the pack to the back of the pack. So I've started here in the middle, and it's kind of scary. You don't know, some people drop to the very back and they just kind of hang back and let the wrecks happen and the carnage happen and then race their way up later. There's always like question marks when you're starting in the middle or the back. So right now I'm just really happy that I'm going to start up front, and it's my last race, so I would love to go out with a top 5 finish or even a win, and just, end my career on a really happy, good note. And it's going to be sad, but I know that, I did everything that I could do in racing. It's taken a lot of work to be in a car for 18 years because I've had to raise every dollar that it took to get on the track. And I think a lot of people don't realize how hard that is and how much work it really takes. Every time I sat in a car was so much work to get there. And so, I'm going to be 45 next week. It's time for me to move on to other things. And I've got this great opportunity to work on a documentary film, and it's with an Academy Award winning team. Like it's the equivalent of like the Venturini Motorsports. You're going with the best people. And I was a little afraid that door could close if I didn't fully close the racing door so that I can put 110% of my effort into the film.
How have you seen the reception change towards you from the time when you first got here to going out now? I mean, you were one of the first female pioneers to come into the sport and, run consecutive seasons, and you stuck around. You stuck it out when it wasn't easy to do. And, what's the biggest thing you've seen from the time you got here to now?
Yeah, I feel a lot more welcomed now than I did before when I first arrived. I think, it became clear to people that I was here for the love of the sport, or I would have given up a long time ago. It is such a hard sport to stay a part of if you don't have your own funding. And, there were years in there where I didn't have any races. 2016, I don't think I ran any. And, some I had 1 race or 2 races, and it was just whatever I could raise the funds for. And somehow in those few races that I got, we had some really decent runs, and that's what gave me the opportunity to race a little bit more. And, it's been, really a privilege. I mean, I know how many race car drivers would love to race Daytona just once, and so the fact that I'm getting to run my 7th race here and I'm running with such a great team, like I'm truly thankful and grateful for every single lap. And I guess I have 80 more to go and then it's done.
When you look at racing and the platform that you support, What the Health, how have you seen the race fans open up to what you're preaching?
I have found the race fans to be, really receptive to these messages. In fact, every race fan that came into the tent always had, my niece is vegan, or my brother is vegan, or my sister is vegan. Like, everybody had a vegan in their lives. And so they were always approaching my tent sort of with an olive branch, saying like, we have something in common. I know somebody that eats like you, and they're going to be so proud that I tried this, vegan burger with you. And we actually were doing little question and answers with the race fans, and we found that 17% of the fans that came to my tent last year were already vegetarian, and 6% of them were already vegan. So that was actually reflective of the general population. So it really showed that, as many people that thought like veganism and NASCAR, those do not go together at all. We found that not to be true. And I think a lot of people are struggling with, heart disease and diabetes. And so when they taste like a juicy, meaty burger that's made completely from plants but has the same flavor and taste, and then I can tell them there's zero cholesterol in that, they're really open to that, because it's for their own health. Their own body is going to be healthier just by making that switch, and you're not giving up any of the flavors. So really anything that you eat, I can eat a vegan version of that, whether it's ice cream or macaroni and cheese or pizza. Like, it's all out there now. I mean, I have such respect for people that were vegan like 30 years ago. I don't know how they did it, because I can just go to the store and buy like vegan Ben & Jerry's ice cream. It's very easy. So it's like, now it's not hard to be vegan. And the race fans are seeing that. I've even had some fans text me and say, or send me messages through social media and say, I've gone vegan since going through your tent. And it's really spreading. And it's not just among race fans. I mean, I think the whole world is sort of waking up. When the Super Bowl aired, that was the first time Carl's Jr. actually advertised 100% plant-based vegan burger. And that's the first time in history. And so things are changing. And I think people are just getting more conscious of what they consume, whether it be like the car that they drive or the food that they eat or the products. They're realizing whatever I spend my money on, I'm sort of endorsing that thing. And so they want to be more conscious about what they buy. So, and that applies to, we've got solar on our roof. I've driven 82,000 miles in my Tesla now without a single drop of gasoline. Our house is powered by solar. It's just, there's other ways of living that are more symbiotic with not damaging the planet that we live on. And I think the world in general is waking up to that, and changing the way we eat is a huge part of that, because right now a third of all the arable land on the planet is being used to grow grain that's being fed to livestock. So it's a really incredibly inefficient way of getting protein. And not only is it bad for the planet and of course for the animals that are getting killed and living in these horrible situations, but it's bad for the human body. It's bad for our health. And so as people learn that, I think meat will sort of go away in the same way that smoking has kind of gone away, in the way that electric cars are going to start being everywhere. So things are changing for the better, I think. I think humanity is becoming more conscious.
It's hard to think that, for a long time, Frank Kimmel had the other white meat as his sponsor, and now he's working with you, and you're completely vegan based. So you've left your mark on race.
Yeah, absolutely. The funny thing about that is Frank is he eats a lot of Pop-Tarts, and he didn't realize that the flavor of Pop-Tarts that he eats every day is vegan. So he was really surprised to find that out. There's actually a lot of products out there that people don't realize are vegan. Oreos are vegan. Nutter Butters are vegan. There's a whole movie that's just all about like all the vegan junk food that doesn't label itself vegan, but actually is. So he was eating vegan before I met him without knowing it.
We like that. Well, listen, you're going to have a bunch of family, friends, and supporters to be here when you make your final race tomorrow at Daytona. How do you keep it together when you take that last walk out to pit road?
I do not know if I'll be able to keep it together. I mean, I've already had a couple cries, and I'm sure I'll have definitely when I get out of the car tomorrow. Yeah, it's going to be hard to look up at my sisters and my family and all the people I love and the Venturinis who have been my racing family, and it's going to be so emotional. But I think I'm ready to take the next step, and I'll shed a few tears, and then I'm going to go make an awesome documentary film.
Now, can you tell us a little bit about the documentary?
I can. So the group that I'm working with is called the Oceanic Preservation Society. I sit on their board, and I worked on a film that came out on Discovery Channel in 2015 called Racing Extinction. It's on all the video-on-demand services except for Netflix. And it's about the sixth mass extinction of species. So we're currently living through the sixth mass extinction, and it's because of humans, right? It's because of ocean acidification, climate change, habitat destruction, loss of biodiversity, all of these things that, you know, with 7.6 billion people on the planet and a growth rate of approximately 1 billion people every 12 years net, this is not sustainable. You know, we are on a finite planet with finite resources, and so we cannot continue to grow infinitely without recognizing that we're going to have a detrimental effect on the oceans and the forest and the things that give us life and make this planet livable. And so the next film that I'm working on is actually talking about human population. And I had a professor when I was in college. I was studying biology is what my degree is in, and it was a biochemistry professor. And I came in one day, and he just told all the students to close our books. And he said, we're not going to talk about biochemistry. I'm going to show you a film about human population. And I was probably like 20. So this is, 24 years ago. And I remember just being devastated by it. I had no idea the numbers. So the planet has doubled in population just in my lifetime. We hit 4 billion people in 1974, the year I was born. We're now approaching 8 billion. It took us 200,000 years to hit our first billion. We did that in 1804. Then it took us 126 years to double it to 2 billion in 1930. Then only 30 years to hit 3 billion in 1960. 14 years to hit 4 billion, and then since 1974, consistently 1 billion people every 12 years. So clearly, this is not something that we can continue to do, and I want to make it more acceptable to talk about this issue and to sort of address it and say, look, we have to talk about this. This is the driving force behind all those other environmental problems that we have. And we can't sort of treat the symptoms without talking about the root cause. And so that is what the next film is going to be about. And it typically has taken this group. They made The Cove, which won the Academy Award in 2010. They made Racing Extinction, came out in 2015. So this is probably going to take up the next 5 years of my life. Documentaries you can't plan. It's not like a scripted movie where you have certain shoots and actors are delivering lines. You're filming real life, and then you're putting together the story later. So this is probably going to keep me busy for 5 to 6 years. And, having an Academy Award-winning team behind me, that's an incredible opportunity that I was, not wanting to miss. And I was afraid if I kept dabbling in racing and not fully, making that move, that window could close on me. So I had to, make a clear decision that okay, this is it. This is time to move on with my life. And I'm passionate about those things just as much as racing. I'm going to miss racing. But I feel like I can have a still really positive effect and raise awareness. And this time I'm just going to be doing it from behind the camera.
Well, we really wish you a lot of luck in that next chapter, and good luck tomorrow as well.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it.